Well, good morning. Today we're going to just take the truck and with the topper on the back of it out into the desert. I want to try out a few things I've been thinking up. I have modified my rack up on top where I could hook up a tarp off the back. And I don't usually use the tapper all that much, but we're sort of what they call now overlanding and just sort of experimenting and trying a few things out and getting out. I'm here with my little buddy Jorah. He's back there somewhere. There he is. And he's going to spend the night with me too. We have his kennel. So let's head on down the road and find the spot. Well, we pulled off the main road, and there's a bunch of old roads back in this way. On the way in here, I saw a snake right on the road. I tried to stop. Well, I did stop, but by the time I backed up, it was gone. I'm not sure what it was, but I've got the GoPro going here on the dashboard. So maybe we can look at that footage and get an idea what it might be. But right now we're pretty much back in here, and I like to get back far enough where I know there wouldn't be anybody pulling a trailer full, a camper back in here, that's for sure. This is the roughest spot on the road right ahead. Those of you that have watched some of our other videos, you might recognize this. This is a spot where Jorah and I, set up the teepee tent a couple of times. But we're not going to do that today. We're just going to hang out. I'm also going to have to be real careful today. It's in the mid-80s, but it's an overcast day. So that should help. There won't be the sun beating down so much, but it'll still get hot. The topper has slide windows at the side. I think it'll be relatively comfortable there. But I'm not going to let Jorah out to run around off a leash. I've got a leash for him, and I'm concerned with the snakes. I know they're out, and now's not the time for a little bitty guy like Jorah to get bit by a snake. So I'm going to get this set up, and after it's set up, maybe take him for a walk. I'm afraid this is not going to work. I could notice it coming in, but now I do. We've had the free-range cattle in here, and oh my God, are there enough flies? Nope. We're going to move on down the road, and not down the road, down the trail. See what else we can find. Darn it. I really like this spot. So I just don't want to mess with that. Unless I could bury it. I don't know. I sure like the spot here. Well, I did a little bit of covering up with dirt, and I think for the most part it's got rid of all the flies that I could find. I like this spot because it's just beautiful here. And it's also at the end of this path, two-wheel track in here, and so there's nobody, you know, I mean, this is the end of it. There's no place to go after this, even with a four-wheeler. So I think it's a pretty good place to be. We'll go ahead and get set up. What I'm planning on doing is hooking the tarp up on the rack and having it come back this way. I'm a little concerned with this fella right here. He's definitely not friendly. So I fabricated these pieces of wood, and they should slide right in the bar, and then we'll have something to attach the tarp to. That's how it's going to work. I hope. The tarp I have is called Wild Venture. I've had this for a number of months now, and I've been meaning to do a video on the various configurations that I use with this tarp. However, there's a serious lack of trees down here in the desert, so we'll have to wait to do that when we get back to Montana. Well, let me give you an idea of what I've done. We've already talked about the bars across the front of the truck. The back of the rack that was on there. And then I made these poles out of 2x2s and put at the top a dowel, and more or less made part of the configuration that goes through the hole, the shock cord with a carabiner that can hook onto here. And then this guy would just hook on any time. And as you can see, I put another one over on that wonderful, wonderful cactus, which that's what it did to me. I'm already wounded. Same thing with the other side. I did tie down the corners. And as you can see, we got a lot of room in here. If it were really going to be raining, I think I would probably want to have another pole in the center. But it's not going to rain, that I know. I was also concerned that the edges of the back window could cause some problems with the tarp. So I took these pool floats and just cut pieces off. I had them left over from another project, and they're on here now. Helps push the tarp out a little bit, but it was more for protection than anything else. Now the front corners, I just used some of the guys that I already had attached and attached them to a little bolt underneath the wheel well to hold it so that it sort of keeps it from flapping too much in the wind. If we get a lot of wind, I don't know, might have a problem, but we'll see. Inside, I've shown this a little bit before, and it's not really straightened up yet, and I'll do some more later. But Jora's happy now. He's in his room, and that's where he really feels more secure, I think. He has a phobia for flies. He hates them. I think perhaps when he was little, he might have been bit by something. I just did the review on this sleeping bag. I decided to bring it, even though it's definitely going to be warm. I have a couple of sheets I can use if I don't want to be inside that bag. And maybe I've shown you this before, but on the edges where the topper is hooked onto the truck, I took this pipe insulation foam and put it along the edges, sort of to make it a little prettier. This is definitely not a makeover like you would see, well, like you can see on a lot of them on YouTube. There's some beautiful topper build outs for campers, but this is flexible. This topper comes off in the summer. The bed simply pulls right out. That little table comes out, and that way I can pull the fifth wheel. So it's sort of a temporary thing for the summer, but people have asked me a little bit more detail about it, so there we are, a little more detail. Well, I'm going to finish up with the camp chores. I want to have a fire tonight, so I better get at it. Here inside the topper, and I heard a noise outside, and look at the size of that sucker. I'm going to try to get a better shot. I'm going to slip out here. Hold on a minute. Now that's a lot of horn. These guys aren't wild, but they're not tame either. This is all free range land. And what I don't want is to find him pooping in the yard. Hey, cow. Or bull. Hey, you. Yeah. He's a neighbor. We'll share space, but if he wants to keep going, that's just fine. Backpacking food. Alpine Air Foods. Himalaya lentils and rice. Himalayan. Yeah. Sort of reminds me of the Himalayas, I guess. Oh boy, this is interesting. I think the bag's leaking. No. Thumbs down. No. Himalayan lentils and rice leaking. No. Not good. I don't know. We might not take him out again. It's been a rough trip. I'm wounded. I can't get this tuned all that good, but I guess it's passable. So I think we'll get our stuff picked up so when we feel like it, we can hit the rack. I decided I'm not going to set up the trail cam tonight. We're only here for the one night. Not much sense in it. Maybe we'll see those cows again. But that's about it. I took some shots to the desert, so I'll say an early good night to you. Enjoy some of this scenery. We'll see you in the morning. Good morning. I hope you had a good evening. We did. George's sitting outside in his chair, basking in the sun. And I hope that this has been somewhat informative. As you can see, I'm underneath the canopy, or the tarp right now, and I've got it set in this position where the sides are down a ways, so it would be great sun protection. And as I mentioned earlier, if there was going to be a big rain, I think I would need to maybe put something up here, or perhaps somehow tie the rope on the top and pull it up. But I hope you found this entertaining, somewhat educational, and maybe found even useful. If so, I would appreciate it if you subscribe. I'm having a little contest with Jorah. I told him if we could get another 100 subscribers before we head to Montana, I would buy him a new sweater, because it's going to be cold up there and he's sort of a desert dog. So, if you would like Jorah to get a new sweater and you haven't subscribed and you think this might be useful or want to follow some of our adventures in the future, please do subscribe. Meanwhile, like I always say, remember, keep hiking.